Hi, I am Sohail. Today I am going to discuss the leaf structure and function. Main points of the lesson are leaf anatomy, trichomes, leaf structure in eudicots and monocots, and leaf functions. Plants are often called the lungs of the earth because they are generally draw in CO2 and breathe out oxygen due to photosynthesis. Leaf structure and function. Foliage leaves are the most variable of plant organs, so much so that plant biologists they have developed specific terminology to describe their shapes, margins, vein patterns, and the way they attach to stems. Because each leaf is characteristic of the species on which it grows, so many plants can be identified by their leaves alone. Leaves may be round, needle-like, scale-like, cylindrical, heart-shaped, fan-shaped, or thin and narrow. The broad and flat portion of leaf that is called leaf blade, and the stalk that attaches the blade to the stem that is called petiole. Some leaves also have stipules, which are leaf-like outgrowths usually present in pairs at the base of each petiole. So, this is the petiole. At the base of petiole here leaf-like outgrowths are present, and these leaf-like outgrowths are called stipules. Some leaves do not have petioles, that the leaf blade is directly attached to the stem. So, the leaves without petioles are said to be sessile. As we can see in this slide, the leaf blade is directly attached to the stem without petiole, and the leaf is said to be sessile. Leaves may be simple or compound. In case of simple leaf that have a single blade, so this is a simple leaf that has a single leaf blade, but in case of compound leaf, leaf blade is divided into two or more leaflets. What is node? Node is the area of the stem where one or more leaves are attached. So, this part of stem where one or more leaves are attached, that part is known as node. Leaf blades may possess parallel venation or netted venation. So, here we can see the leaf blade has parallel venation, and in this leaf blade has netted venation. Parallel venation is generally characteristics of monocots. Netted venation, that is characteristics of eudicots. So, this is a dicot leaf because it has netted venation. Leaf blade that has midrib, which is divided into veins and veinlets. So, what are veins? Veins are actually strands of vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. The leaf is a complex organ that is composed of several tissues organized to optimize photosynthesis. Leaf blade has upper and lower surfaces consisting of layer of epidermis. So, this is upper epidermis and this one is lower epidermis. Upper epidermis, it covers the upper surface of the leaf, and lower epidermis that covers the lower surface of the leaf. Most of the cells in upper epidermis and lower epidermis, they are transparent and they do not have chloroplast. So, epidermal cells are not photosynthetic. One interesting feature of leaf epidermal cells is that the cell wall facing toward outside environment is somewhat thicker than the cell wall facing inward. So, here these are the epidermal cells, and the cell wall which is facing the environment that has thick cell wall as compared to inner side. This extra thickness in cell wall that provide the plant with additional protection against injury and water loss. Because the leaves they have such a large surface area exposed to the atmosphere, so water loss by evaporation from the leaf's surface is unavoidable. So, epidermal cells they secrete a waxy layer that is called cuticle, and this cuticle reduces the water loss from the exterior walls. So, upper epidermis and lower epidermis they secrete this waxy layer that is called cuticle. Cuticle is present in upper epidermis as well as in lower epidermis. Cuticle varies in thickness in different plants, As one might expect, the leaves of plants adapted to hot, dry climate because they have thick cuticle. What is adaptation? Adaptation is the fitness of an organism to its environment. That is known as adaptation. So, the plants which are growing in desert, in dry habitat, they have thick layer of cuticle. If we compare upper epidermis with lower epidermis, upper epidermis generally has a thicker cuticle than the lower epidermis. As we can see in this slide, here the cuticle is thicker in upper epidermis as compared to the cuticle layer in lower epidermis. The epidermis of many leaves is covered with various hair-like structures, and these hair-like structures are called trichomes, and trichomes, they have several functions. Trichomes of some plants, they help to reduce water loss from the leaf surface by retaining a layer of moist air next to the leaf and by reflecting sunlight, thereby protecting the plant from overheating. Some trichomes, they secrete stinging irritants for deterring herbivores, animals that feed on plants. In addition, a leaf covered with trichomes is difficult for an insect to walk over or eat. Other trichomes, they excrete excess salts absorbed from salty soil. The leaf epidermis contains minute openings, and these openings are called stomata. Plural is stomata, singular is stoma, for gas exchange between the leaf cells and the environment. So each stoma is flanked or surrounded by two specialized epidermal kidney-shaped guard cells. These are two kidney-shaped guard cells. In the center there is a single opening, and that opening is called stoma. And guard cells, they are responsible for opening and closing the stoma. Guard cells are usually only epidermal cells with chloroplast. As we can see that epidermal cells are transparent cells, they do not have chloroplast, they are not photosynthetic in function, but the guard cells are modified epidermal cells, they have chloroplast and they are photosynthetic in function. Stomata are especially numerous on the lower epidermis of horizontally oriented leaves, on average of about 100 stomata per square millimeter, and in many species they are located only on the lower surface. The lower epidermis of apple leaves, that is Malus sylvestris, has 400 stomata per square millimeter, whereas the upper surface has none. This adaptation reduces the water loss because stomata on the lower epidermis are shielded from direct sunlight and therefore cooler than those of upper epidermis. In contrast, in aquatic plants such as water lilies, they have stomata only on the upper epidermis. Guard cells are associated with special epidermal cells called subsidiary cells. So, these are the guard cells, and guard cells, they are associated with special epidermal cells, and these special epidermal cells are called subsidiary cells. And subsidiary cells, they are structurally different from other epidermal cells. The photosynthetic ground tissue of the leaf which are involved in the process of photosynthesis, they are called mesophyll. Mesophyll is sandwiched between upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Mesophyll cells, which are parenchyma cells, they are packed with chloroplast, they are loosely arranged with many air spaces between them that facilitate the gas exchange. Intercellular spaces in mesophyll cells that account for as much as 70% of leaf's volume. In many plants, mesophyll is divided into two sublayers, that is palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll. Toward the upper epidermis, the columnar cells which are stacked together, closely packed together in a layer, that is called palisade mesophyll. In the lower portion, the cells are more loosely and irregularly arranged in a layer, and these cells are called spongy mesophyll. These two layers, that is palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll, they have different functions. Palisade mesophyll is specialized for light capture and is the main site for photosynthesis in the leaf. Photosynthesis also takes place in case of spongy mesophyll, but the primary function of spongy mesophyll is to allow diffusion of gases, particularly carbon dioxide within the leaf. Palisade mesophyll may be organized into one layer as we can see in this diagram, but in some cases there are 2, 3 and even more layers of cells. Leaves exposed to direct sunlight that contain more layers of palisade mesophyll than the shaded leaves on the same plant. In direct sunlight, light is strong enough to effectively penetrate multiple layers of palisade mesophyll where photosynthesis takes place efficiently. The veins are vascular bundles, and these vascular bundles they extend throughout the mesophyll. The network of veins is very extensive, and no mesophyll cell is more than 2 or 3 cells away from the vein. So, therefore, the slow process of diffusion does not limit the movement of needed resources between the mesophyll cells and veins. That each vein contains 2 types of vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem. So, this is a vascular bundle that has xylem and phloem. Xylem are water conducting tissues which conducts water and dissolved minerals in organic nutrients, is usually located in the upper part of the vein toward the upper epidermis. So, this is upper epidermis. In this vein towards the upper epidermis, xylem tissues are present. Phloem are food conducting tissue which conducts dissolved sugar, and they are usually confined to the lower part of the vein. So, in this vascular bundle, phloem that is confined, that is present towards the lower epidermis, and xylem is present towards the upper epidermis. What are bundle sheath? Now, one or more layers of non-vascular cells that surround the larger veins and make up bundle sheath. So, bundle sheath are non-vascular cells and they surround the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues are xylem and phloem. So, xylem is present towards the upper epidermis and phloem is present towards the lower epidermis. Bundle sheaths are composed of parenchyma or sclerenchyma cells. Parenchyma are thin-walled living cells and sclerenchyma are thick-walled dead cells. The bundle sheath has support columns, and these support columns are called bundle sheath extensions. And these bundle sheath extensions that extend through the mesophyll from upper epidermis to lower epidermis. So, between upper epidermis and lower epidermis, here bundle sheath extensions are present, and bundle sheath that surrounds the vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. Bundle sheath extensions, they are also composed of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma cells. Parenchyma, as we know, they are thin-walled living cells. Collenchyma, they are thick-walled living cells, and sclerenchyma cells are thick-walled dead cells. Each eudicot leaf is usually composed of broad flattened blade with a stalk that is called petiole, and eudicot leaves typically have netted venation. Monocot leaves, they lack a petiole. They are narrow, and the base of leaf often wraps around the stem and form a sheath, and parallel venation is characteristics of monocots. So, this is a monocot leaf that has parallel venation, and as we can see here, this is a monocot leaf that is directly attached to the stem without petiole. So, the leaf is called sessile. Most eudicots and monocots, they have both palisade and spongy layers, but some monocots like corn and grasses, they do not have mesophyll tissues which are differentiated into palisade and spongy layers. So, they have only mesophyll cells which are photosynthetic in function. Eudicot leaf that has netted veins. So, the cross section of eudicot blade often shows veins in both cross sectional as well as lengthwise views. But in the cross section of monocot leaf, because they have parallel venation, so the vascular tissues are evenly spaced in veins. As we know that the epidermal cells in leaves, they are transparent because they do not have chlorophyll, they are not photosynthetic in function, but they allows light to penetrate to the interior of the leaf where the photosynthetic ground tissue, that is mesophyll, is located, and the photosynthesis process takes place in mesophyll cells. Stomata that permit the exchange of gases between the atmosphere and the leaf's internal tissues. Carbon dioxide is the raw material for photosynthesis that diffuses into the leaf through the stomata, and the oxygen which is produced during photosynthesis that diffuses rapidly out of the leaf through stomata. Water is required for photosynthesis, and water is obtained from soil and transported in the xylem to the leaf, where it diffuses into the mesophyll and moisten the surfaces of mesophyll cells. The loose arrangement of mesophyll cells with air spaces here between the cells that allow for rapid diffusion of CO2 to the mesophyll cell surface, there it dissolves in a thin film of water before diffusing into the cells. So, xylem distributes water and minerals from roots to the leaves, and phloem distributes sugar produced during photosynthesis from leaves to the growing organs and storage organs in the plant body. Bundle sheaths are present around the vascular tissues like xylem and phloem, and bundle sheath extensions are present between upper epidermis and lower epidermis. So, bundle sheath and bundle sheath extensions, they are associated with veins on one hand, on the other hand they also provide mechanical support to the leaf. Let us watch this simulation to recognize the leaf structure. To sum up, the broad flat portion of a leaf is called blade, and the stalk that attaches the blade to the stem is called petiole. Some leaves also have stipules, which are leaf-like outgrowths usually present in pairs at the base of the petiole. Leaves without petiole are said to be sessile. Now, the leaves may be simple or compound. In case of simple leaf, a single leaf blade is present, but in case of compound, leaf blade is divided into two or more leaflets. Node is the area of the stem where one or more leaves are attached. Leaf blade that possesses parallel venation as well as netted venation. Parallel venation is the characteristics of monocots, and netted venation is the characteristics of dicot. Leaf blade has upper epidermis and lower epidermis. The cells of upper epidermis and lower epidermis are transparent, and these cells also secrete a waxy layer which is called cuticle. Cuticle in case of upper epidermis is more thick as compared to lower epidermis. In between the upper epidermis and lower epidermis, here mesophyll cells are present, and mesophyll cells are differentiated into palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll. Palisade mesophyll are directed towards the upper epidermis, and spongy mesophyll, they are present towards the lower epidermis. The cells in palisade mesophylls are tightly packed, but in case of spongy mesophyll cells, they are loosely arranged with intercellular spaces. Normally, the lower epidermis, it has small openings, and these openings are called stoma, is singular, stomata is plural. Vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, are present here, and xylem is directed towards the upper epidermis and phloem is directed towards the lower epidermis. Vascular tissues, they are surrounded by non-vascular cells which are called bundle sheath. So, bundle sheath that is present around the vascular tissues, and bundle sheath extensions. On one hand, they are associated with vascular tissues, on the other hand, they are also supportive in function in case of leaf. Epidermal cells of many leaves is covered with hair-like structures, and these hair-like structures are called trichomes, which are protecting the plant. Let us watch this slideshow to elaborate the leaf structure.